As schools look for ways to improve student achievement, one element in accomplishing this goal is clear. Parental involvement is not just useful, it is essential. The purpose of this course is to provide practical suggestions on how teachers can involve parents in their children's educational experience. Parent involvement as a factor in a child's success is recognized by teachers everywhere. Dr. William Glasser, author and a leading educational theorist, has always maintained that positive, healthy relationships between teachers and parents are important in a child's performance at school. Dr. Glasser states that to be happy, we must learn how to maintain positive relationships with people in our lives. When we are unhappy or unable to perform as we would like, it is almost always because we've failed to do this. For more on the importance of relationships, especially between the home and the school, we turn now to Dr. Glasser.
Well, the basis of a Glasser quality school is relationships. Relationships between all the people involved, and all of the people should, of course, learn to put choice theory to work in their lives, because choice theory is the theory that when you put it to work in your lives, it's a theory of people getting along well together. So parents, students, teachers, and administrators should all be using choice theory, having learned it in the process of the school becoming a quality school. And in terms of parents, then one of the things we encourage in a Glasser quality school is for students, even young students, young as 6 or 7, to teach the choice theory to their parents, so they all understand how to enjoy life. Choice theory is really the theory of being happy and enjoying life.
Next, we turn to author and nationally renowned speaker, Dr. Jane Bluestein. Author of such books as The Parent's Little Book of Lists, Creating Emotionally Safe Schools, and 21st Century Discipline, Dr. Bluestein has appeared internationally as a speaker and talk show guest, including several appearances as a guest expert on CNN, National Public Radio, and The Oprah Winfrey Show. A common theme of Dr. Bluestein's work is the importance of relationship building, both in life and in a school setting. Here she explains why it is beneficial to build a strong relationship with parents, and gives examples on how to begin to gain parental support.
Parental support's really important because, well, let's face it, parents are the most important influence in a child's life. Teachers are running a pretty close second, and when the two forces can join and there is a cooperation and there is support and there is communication between the two, between the home and the school, you've got so much more power as a teacher behind you. I have been really recommending for years that teachers start enlisting parents by letting the parents know what their policies are, what their intentions are, what their goals are, where their flexibility lies, and and letting the parents know ahead of time, this is what I'd like to do. Here's my homework policy, here's my in-class policy, here's this, here's how you can support this, and to get a sense from the parents, is this something, are we on the same page here? When kids know that the parents are behind the teachers and that everybody is on the same page and we're all working together, the kids are much more likely to be more cooperative, certainly in school, because they know that the parents, that the parents are already behind the teacher and what the teacher is doing. When kids go home and they hear parents talking about, oh, these teachers don't know anything, or oh, these schools are so bad, it undermines the credibility and the authority of the teacher. And it also creates some internal conflict, because I think kids really want to like their teachers, and they really want to do well. I'm convinced, I don't believe for a second that kids walk into school thinking, gee, how can I fail here today? This is about how can I be successful and how can I create a connection. We know that the connection between the teacher and the student, and the way the student feels about the teacher and the way the student perceives the teacher feels about him or her, are some of the most important factors in whether that child's going to be successful in school or not. And if the parents are talking in positive ways about what the school is doing, or, oh, you know, if the kids overhear the parents say, oh, my kid has such a great teacher, or we're so glad that my daughter is in this class, or we're so glad my child, you know, my son hooked up with this teacher, immediately that kind of gives me, you know, gives the student, immediately it gives the student a sense that they're in the right place. It is okay to like this person. It is okay to expect good things from this person, and it is okay to do well in this person's care. Okay, what are some of the things we can do to create parental support early in the year? You know, how about we meet with the parents, or at least start sending some information home, making a few phone calls. I know I taught in a community where that was not particularly encouraged because there were some safety issues about going into some of the communities. You know, every one of us, every one of the new teaching interns, we did it anyhow because it felt that important. You know, we care about your kid. We want you to be a part of this child's education. We want you to be a part of this process. You know, you're my ally in this kid's education, and before I start off the year with this kid, you know, let's meet, let's talk about what I want for this child, talk about what you want for this child, and how are we going to work together. One of the other steps, when I worked with teaching interns as a supervisor, I used to encourage regular positive contact. You build a relationship with the parents. This doesn't happen automatically, especially in some communities. The parents are so automatically hostile and so automatically defensive because usually they only hear from us, you know, as teachers when there's a problem. And in fact, I'll never forget the first time I called a parent. I remember the kid's name was Billy, I think, and he had done something really well. He had like mastered something in math. And I called the mom to say, hey, your kid's doing really well. And her response was, yeah, what do you want? All she heard was Bluestein from the school, and she couldn't get past that. She immediately went into this defense and survival mode. And, you know, and I had to say, you know, I was a little shocked, and I'm thinking, okay, now how could I have possibly not said that right? I said, you know, your kid had a really great week in math. I just wanted to let you know. And that's where the shift came. But immediately her assumption was, if I'm hearing from the school, my child must be in trouble, they must be calling me to fix something, or they must be blaming him for something. And, you know, regular positive contact. I had a principal one time tell me he called, I think it was a principal of a middle school, made a point to call every parent of every child once a semester. He just kept a list, and he would find out something nice, something positive about maybe 12, 15 kids a day. He said the average amount of time he spent on the phone with the parents was 17 seconds. Not big, long conversations. I'm not calling to talk about the weather. I don't want to hear about your operation. It's like, I just called. I ran into your kid's gym teacher, and I hear kid's really making an effort in class. He's really doing well. Or, you know, I just saw your kid's science teacher. I saw your child's science teacher, and she said, boy, he did a terrific project and whatever. And I just thought you might want to know that people were saying nice things about your kid today. Boy, oh boy, did that change the level of parental involvement. You know, imagine you're a parent and you hear from me once a week, once a month, or whatever, and the only thing I'm telling you about is, here's what your kid did great. I kind of found out about this by accident. I picked one of my toughest classes. I was in a departmentalized setting, and I had a couple really tough classes, and I found if I sent home a good note, just here's a list of things I'm looking for, and they were observable, very specific behaviors, things like even, you know, says please and thank you, turns in homework 4 out of 5 days a week or whatever, and started making a point to give kids credit for at least 3 or 4 a week, even the kids that were having a bad week. Find the things that they had done kind of the least worst, you know, and so every week, here's a parent getting note and feedback from me. And I almost always tried to make a little note on the bottom, even things like great sense of humor, something positive about this child. Focus on what the kid was doing well, you know, really helpful with the other kids, turned in excellent homework, improved in neatness, anything that would give the parents some feedback about how the kid was doing in school. The thing that really surprised me, I didn't even think these notes were going home, some of them, and I had one class, a group of 8th graders that I thought were way too cool to even be bothered with these things. And I had one Friday, because they always went home on Friday, one Friday I had a parent come in, and I didn't get a chance to actually get my good notes out. Do you know my kids actually held the bus? They would not go home without their good notes. The other piece of that is, here you're a parent, and every Friday you're getting something from me about what your kid is doing well. Then there's no big surprises at the end of the semester. If the kid is not getting checks where it says turns in homework 4 out of 5 days a week, you can't say, gee, I didn't know there was a problem because this is pulling the kid's grade down, or that the kid, it's like you've got some feedback. The other piece of that is when we're focusing on the positive and you're hearing from me every Friday, here's what your kid did well, here's what your kid did great, here's where the kid's making progress. And then if there is a problem, I've already got a connection with you, and I've already got a context where I could call you and say, something weird kind of happened today, or we've got something going on. Let me tell you what I saw. Let me tell you how I'm handling it. And the teachers that I've worked with that have the greatest success with this approach are the ones that have not tried to drag the parent into it or tried to make the parent responsible. A lot of times, it's tempting to call and say, what the little jerk did today, that kind of thing. And you better have a talk with them. No. This is my problem. You weren't there. You didn't see this. Let me take responsibility, because this is one of the skills I'm trying to build in the kids. You know what I found? The less I asked the parents to kind of jump in and solve my problems for me, the more supportive they were, and the more involved they were, and the more help they actually ended up giving me. No, this is, let me handle it. Here's what's going on. Here's what I'm doing about it. Let me call you in a couple days and let you know. All of a sudden, I've got parents that are much more involved, much more supportive. It was kind of paradoxical that the less I asked from them, the more they were willing to give.
Throughout the United States, principals and teachers are creating positive classroom experiences using Dr. Glasser's theories. Schools that successfully devote their mission entirely to his philosophy of choice theory are designated as William Glasser Quality Schools. One of those quality schools is Grand Traverse Academy in Traverse City, Michigan. Principal Kay Mentley is an author and a senior faculty member of the William Glasser Institute. We asked Kay to comment on how she encourages and leads her teachers in creating and maintaining positive relationships with parents.
I think in education, relationships are paramount. A student isn't going to want to learn from a teacher unless the student likes that teacher. A parent is not going to be willing to express his or her concerns, goals for the child, unless they have a positive relationship with the teacher. Children aren't going to get along. There's going to be bullying if there are not good relationships. So if we want schools to do their jobs well, there have to be good relationships. I think it's imperative that teachers work hard to have good relationships with parents, and there are a number of ways to do that. One thing that we try to do is a lot of positive contact with our parents. Our teachers usually make one positive contact per student per month by sending a postcard or mailing a little note or making a phone call. That makes a world of difference when we then have to call a parent and talk about something that we're concerned about. We've already built that relationship. The parent knows we're not picking on their child, we care about their child very much, and we want to work things out. When we schedule our regular conferences with our parents, we think about what do parents really, really want for their child. And regardless of the age of the child, I think a parent wants to know that their child is safe, that their child is loved and cared for in school, and that their child is learning and learning well in school. And we kind of use that message then to structure our conference. And so we want to let the parent know that their child is doing well socially, has a lot of friends, is having a good time at recess. We want to make sure the parent knows the child is being treated well by other students and by staff members. We also want the parent to know we really care about their child. We've noticed some of the child's strengths, maybe some of the child's idiosyncrasies, talents, things like that. We also, of course, want the parent to know, and we provide evidence that their child has learned and learned well since the last time we communicated. And so I think if we just kind of keep that simple message in mind, that can really structure every communication we have with our parents. It works very well for us. That same message works even when a student has a problem, because we can then say to the parent, I really care for your child, but he is not being safe around others, and we want to talk together about how we can help him better handle his anger or, share a little more appropriately, things like that. And that umbrella I found it's actually made my job easier because really every communication with parents fits within that umbrella. I think about my own children when they were younger and my grandchildren now. What do I want for them in any school setting? I want safe, I want them loved and cared for, and I want them learning. And that has just really simplified things for us. We work with our teachers to make sure that they're well prepared for conferences. We actually do some role plays at staff meetings, and just to get silly, we'll role play like the worst conference ever and how you would certainly not want to conduct a conference in that style, and we kind of ham it up so that they really understand the message. We want to make sure our teachers use what we use throughout the school, which are the caring habits, and stay away from the deadly habits of complaining and blaming and criticizing. It is sometimes necessary to bring up problems when we talk with parents. What we ask our teachers to do is anytime you're bringing up a problem, please also bring up a couple possible solutions that you can discuss with the parent. I don't think a parent minds hearing that there's an issue or a concern or a problem, but they don't want to think that the teacher doesn't know what to do. And that is just the teacher's throwing up his or her hands. And if a teacher can say, I'm thinking if we tried this, this, and this, it might work, then I think a parent has confidence in the teacher. We actually role play with our teachers, angry parents, and what to do about them. Anytime a teacher suspects it might be a volatile situation, perhaps divorced parents or something like that, they know to invite an administrator to that conference, or they know to ask an administrator to be sitting in the next room. And we will do that and listen to see if we need to get up and help out a little bit. I think our choice theory training has helped us tremendously, where we know if someone is escalating, the best thing that we can do is remain quiet, calm, and listen. But we also set some limits on what we will not stand for. And if a parent is using profanity or being real unreasonable, we'll usually ask to reschedule the conference. We don't necessarily encourage home visits by our teachers, but what many of our teachers do is attend different athletic events or dance events, baseball games, things like that, that our kids of all ages are involved in the community. And we have found that it just means a great deal to a student to see his or her teacher at the Saturday morning soccer game or something like that. And that kind of helps with that home-school relationship also. I think sometimes when we're teaching, we feel like we're very, very busy. There's so much to do that we sometimes look at positive contacts with parents or frequent conferences with parents or frequently reporting on student progress to parents as an added burden and something that we really don't have time for. What we have found is that the more of that we do, and the more proactive we can be with that communication, the fewer problems we have. And when we do have them, they're smaller, they're more quickly resolved, more easily resolved to the best of everyone's satisfaction. And we've really been very fortunate to have a high degree of parent satisfaction with our school. I think one of the main reasons is the amount of time we put into making sure our parents have a lot of communication and hear a lot of positive things about their child. A lot of times we don't like to think about the parents being our customers, but they are. They are paying for the school, for the teacher. And we need to honor that, and we need to serve them as we want to be served when we're customers. And if we keep that in mind, rather than being an added burden, it actually makes everything easier.
In the next video in this course, you will visit an in-service workshop at Grand Traverse Academy led by Jeanette McDaniel of the William Glasser Institute. In that video, you will learn steps you can take from the very first day of school that will ensure that you gain the parental support that you need and deserve.